The memo has gone out. The fear of a Vice President Harris victory is yielding a pattern that we saw in 2020 and we're definitely seeing develop now in 2024. And what I mean is the lies being told preemptively about this election and about how Democrats just might steal it again. Those were never gone, but they were less mainstream for a while, right? When it looked like Trump was going to win, there's no need to cultivate those lies. But now that there's a really good shot Trump could lose, it's once again being cultivated. And I want to play this clip for you. Friend of the show, Aaron Rupar, captioned this video. Watch Maria Bartiromo's facial expressions as Donald Trump Jr. pushes a smorgasbord of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, including the Great Replacement conspiracy theory that has motivated numerous right-wing mass shooters. And here's the clip to which he is referring.
Lawfare that they're able to put into this, the millions and millions that are funded to it. I mean, it's not just fundraising and campaigns where they can dwarf us because, Soros or whoever it may be. They do that in each and every instance. So I think we've done an incredible job doing what we can, but we're up against a lot of forces that are not looking to do the right thing. They're looking to try to literally give illegal aliens, the right to vote. They're looking to let them get away with it. Well, it's not really a crime, if you didn't know. So wink, 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 show up and vote.
Wow.
They're doing this across the board. The amount of calls I've had from people, Ken Paxton in Texas. Hey, they're giving them ID cards and then they're registering to vote, even though they know they're not actually legal to vote, and they're just hoping that no one has the time to catch it all. So they're playing whatever games they can imagine. They're flaunting it before the American people. It's absolutely disgusting, but we should be accustomed to that now from the Democrat Party, because they are not the party of putting Americans first. They've ostracized so many of their normal demographics that would have been reliable Democrat voters. So rather than actually do what's good for those people and the rest of the American people, they said, you know what, we're just going to replace you by bringing in 20 million unknown, unvetted, some of whom are murderers and rapists, many of whom, frankly, at this point. And that's how they're going to handle the situation.
Wow.
It's laughable if it wasn't happening in America right now. It's truly disgusting.
Don, thank you very much for weighing in this morning. Good to see you. Trump Organization Executive Vice President Donald Trump Jr. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, even Maria Bartiromo seemed pretty stunned by some of the things that Donald Trump Jr. was saying there. If you enjoy this show, please do click that subscribe button. Easy, free, simple, but makes all the difference. Back to the video. Before we get on to more, I can't overstate how scary it is and disgusting seeing how prominent the Great Replacement theory has become. As Aaron Rupar mentioned, we've seen the danger of that lie that Democrats are bringing in. And it gets more vile as you go further into the MAGA echo chamber. It can be specifically powerful Jewish people are trying to bring in voters from this place and that place. But the more popular version of the theory is just the Democrats are bringing in people to replace real Americans with undocumented immigrants, and then they're going to vote to keep Democrats in power. Now, of course, it's all built on a lie, which is that there's a problem in this country, or that Democrats want undocumented immigrants to be voting. Every time this is investigated, which is why Democrats push back against stunts in Congress to try to re-implement something into law that's in law. Every time it's investigated, the handful of times that people fraudulently vote, including when it's someone who's not a citizen, it, number one, is such a tiny percentage of the broader vote that it doesn't make a difference. And often it's because people get misinformed and confused about if they're allowed to, and then we catch them. Oh, no, you're not allowed to register to vote. You're not allowed to show up and vote. And then we don't count those votes. So the problem they want their voters to believe is a problem isn't. And their solution to that problem often ends up being a way of suppressing citizens voting. Some of the restrictions they want to put in place because they're fear-mongering about something that's not a problem. And why is this back on Fox News? Why is this something that is being perpetuated again? Well, Trump has sent out the bat signal.
If I lose, I'll tell you what's possible, because they cheat. That's the only way we're going to lose, because they cheat. They cheat like hell.
MAGA, look me in the eyes and acknowledge our side thinks Trump is a threat to democracy. And we understand he could legitimately win the election still. I think he's one of the least qualified candidates for president of the United States that we've ever had. One of the most unhinged individuals in American politics. And I think there are enough people out there who could elect him into office. I respect the fact that he could legitimately, lawfully become president again. And I'd accept that if he did. Acknowledge that it's just your side that wants to invalidate and ignore, because you can't handle it, the fact that maybe there are enough millions and millions of people out there who disagree with you. I can imagine maybe it's not just me and people like me in this world. You don't seem to be able to do that. I can acknowledge, as outrageous as it is to vote for this man, there are enough people out there who will. And maybe it'll be enough to actually make him president. It's only your side that deals with this irrational inability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and imagine maybe it's not just you existing in your little bubble, and there's other people living in other places who have other lived experiences and who are going to support Harris, and enough of them to legitimately elect her as president. But what you're doing is foundationally deteriorating what it is that allows democracy to function, which is both sides having that acknowledgement that someone else might win, that you might be on the losing side. And that's a bummer when it happens. But it's the only thing, accepting that is the only thing that keeps this machine going. Also on Maria Bartiromo's show was Carrie Lake, who's getting blown out in the polls, which is exciting to see, against her challenger, Ruben Gallego. But she said this.
Your reaction to Kamala Harris's border visit in Arizona on Friday?
I found it despicable. She spent 20 minutes on the border. She's been the border czar, Maria, for almost 4 years now. And she came down, I think, to make her friends in the mainstream media happy so that they could finally say she visited the border.
It is funny. It's funny. It is. That MAGA has spent, I know they have an argument, but they've spent so many hours on TV saying, Vice President Harris, she just needs to go to the border. And then she does, and they're mad at her. But aside from that seeming sort of irrational, I do want to restate one of the things that I'm really appreciating about the Harris campaign is the fact that she's taking on this issue head on, the border. Because Republicans for so long, and the polls reflect this, have been able to win politically on that issue, even though, as we talked about, it's actually them who are blocking solutions. And so that provides the facts of the situation, provides such a political opportunity for the Democrat to show, actually, this is an issue that we should put ourselves out front on, and show that, yes, we're for border security. Yep. We want to solve these problems. Yes. And unlike too many within MAGA, we also can have humane policies. But with the major issues that are sort of currently relevant politically that a lot of people are talking about, even on those that have been exacerbated under our watch for whatever reason, we can address head on. And I'm really glad that Harris is doing that, because that's one of my criticisms, is not that they were wrong on what ended up being their policy stance, but that it took so long for them to show Americans that they were taking this seriously enough. Again, they'd say they always have taken it seriously, but you got to get out there. You got to do the visits. You got to show yourself to be taking something seriously for people to believe it. Then you have former U.S. Army General Stanley McChrystal, who is endorsing Vice President Harris on Face the Nation.
So many former military officials, top leaders who have served, men and women in uniform, have come out against former President Donald Trump. There are those, of course, like former retired General Keith Kellogg, who do support former President Trump, but high-profile people like yourself have raised concerns. I think about General Milley. General Milley had concerns in the final days of Trump's presidency about how he was handling his work, and you have concerns. You've endorsed Vice President Harris. It comes down to one core question here. General McChrystal, do you believe former President Donald Trump is fit for office?
I believe that Vice President Harris is fit to lead the country in the presidency.
Well, let's go right to the question of Trump. Is he fit for office or not? You're a former top leader of the United States military. You're supporting a presidential candidate. You have a former president now running for the presidency again. You seem to have core character questions. Is he fit for office or not?
Hey, Bob, let's be honest. Why would a retired military officer come on to endorse his opponent?
You tell me.
Because I think character is very important. And so I'm voting for character. I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
General Stanley McChrystal, we appreciate you stopping by.
And this is a major thing for him to do. Rarely someone who is as high ranking as he was comes out, especially with his history in his disagreements with the Obama administration, if I'm remembering correctly. It's rare that he would come out. It's pretty major that he's coming out and supporting Vice President Harris. And I think when you've had the experiences that he's had, you realize with the types of monumental decisions a president is making and the ones that relate to the military, character matters. And people trying to convince us otherwise that, character doesn't matter. As long as he'll scream about coming from jails or whatever, we're good with him. It does. It matters. And we saw that. The example I always cite is people thought because Trump was handed a strong economy, and then they started making his whole case how good the economy was, even though that was mostly something that happened under the Obama administration. But a lot of MAGA people thought they were proven correct. That, see, things, at least economically, are going pretty good, even if he's kind of crazy. And then we saw what low character gets you whenever he was faced with a crisis. When it was time for Trump to lead during the pandemic, he failed aggressively. And that's what happens. We don't know what the crisis is going to be. We don't know what the big decision a president's going to have to make will be. But there's going to be something. And leadership is going to matter at some point. And so if leadership matters, character matters. And that's what Stanley McChrystal understands. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Support the show by clicking that join button below.